So let's going back to the size of the armies and how you guys have made the game pretty scalable. You're right. There are a lot of people out there who still want to do big armies.
Yeah, totally.
What made you decide to go with a fully scalable, and how difficult was it to get the rule system to be able to support a fully scalable game?
It's not really that difficult. I mean, the only thing that really changes with a bigger game of Warzone is the amount of time it's going to take to play.
Okay.
The game functions excellently at the small level or at the large level. Mm-hmm. The game functions great. It's just the amount of time played.
Okay.
I mean, really, that's the only factor that changes with a big game or a small game.
And you might use a few more tokens to say what's activated and what's not.
Right.
Okay, because that's interesting, because a lot of the games out there don't scale terribly well.
Right.
Especially if they're for skirmish games like Malifaux, that doesn't scale terribly well up to a really big, big game. War Machine, it was supposed to, but it's really difficult to do that smoothly. 40K obviously does not scale down very well, so it's really impressive that you guys have been able to get a game that apparently scales really well. So that's awesome.
I think it's because it's got a nice I go you go mechanic whereby no one's ever waiting a very long time for their opponent to finish. So you just activate your one squad, you do what you want to do with your squad, and then your opponent gets to activate theirs. So you've got a very quick I go you go. You're not just waiting for them to move their entire army.
Right. What he's talking about is an alternating activation I go you go.
Yeah.
Most people hear I go you go, Rob, and they think of that other big game.
Never mind.
So it's an alternating activation. So I would activate a squad, do their actions, then I would pass it to my opponent, then they would activate a squad, do their actions, and we'd hand off back and forth. And once all squads are activated, that game turn is over, the next game turn begins, and then it starts all over again.
Was that part of the initial game design to begin with?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Ever since the beginning.
Ever since the first edition, way back in the 90s.
Okay, so it's always been like
yes.
that.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Really? That's
why we said we kept the best parts of.
Yeah. Well, it seems
early.
like a ton of games are doing that now. The alternating activation, just because it keeps both players involved.
It keeps them engaged.
I'd almost go as far as saying I think that a lot of the games that are around now, you talk to the designers, and especially American companies, they're influenced by Warzone because they played it when they were kids.
When they were
I can't give any examples, but if you do talk to some of them, they were.
Maybe I'll get a chance to do that.
You never know.
I'm going to be talking to some other people. So
totally.
Yeah, you never know. It might just pop up.
Hey, might as well. Okay, so I want to talk about your guys' Kickstarter a little bit. What was? Well, let's see. What was the most difficult part, or the most challenging part of your pre-Kickstarter process?
So is this for Warzone, which was our first one?
Yes, this is. Let's go with Warzone, and then let's see what changed after Warzone, and then we can address the AVP.
So before Warzone, at the time, it didn't feel like anything was going wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, everything felt perfect. We were rocking it. We were making good money.
Excellent.
We had some excellent deals. People were really happy. They were really cheerful about the fact it was coming out, and we were just like, yeah, let's just do this. Okay. But the problem that we didn't realise we had at the time was that we hadn't put enough research in. We didn't know what the manufacturing costs were. We didn't know what the shipping costs were. We didn't know what our key demographics were going to be. Like how many people in the States were going to buy it, what free shipping, how much free shipping could damage our company. So the original Warzone Kickstarter afterwards ended up as a little bit of a disaster.
Okay.
Really, because just simply from inexperience.
Okay.
But to move on to the Alien vs Predator, that informed us on those kinds of subjects. But what went a little bit haywire with the AVP Kickstarter was not being aware of the approval process that we'd have to undergo for everything through Alien vs Predator and therefore 20th Century Fox.
Okay.
Yeah, whereas Warzone is also a licensed product, but the license holder is very, very good with us. And I'm not saying that Fox by any means aren't good with us, but we can send something to Paradox, who own Warzone, and then the next day they've approved it and we can start manufacturing it. We can literally have something from concept to production within a week.
Wow.
Whereas for Alien vs Predator, that's going to take 3, 6, maybe even 9 months, or even a year.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so
big corporation versus
right.
small
Yeah,
corporation.
It's definitely a
Paradox
different.
is a very small corporation.
Yes,
They
it's
open an
definitely
email.
a huge difference between the size of the companies, but
Right.
also the intrinsic value of the IP you're working
Exactly.
with and how
Totally.
well established it is.
Totally. I mean, a big part of what we're doing with Warzone for Paradox is that we're reinvigorating their license and giving it a new lease
Definitely.
of life. You know,
Definitely.
it's had so many previous incarnations, as so many different things. I mean, it's been a role-playing game, card game, movie, Super Nintendo game.
Yeah.
Did I say card game? Two
Yeah.
card games. You know, it's been a lot of things. Yeah.
So, what about the post Kickstarter process? Like after you've got your Kickstarter, what's the thing you carried over from the Warzone to the ADP that worked well?
So, after the Warzone Kickstarter, we had basically 2 guys packing all the orders.
Okay.
Right, which was an incredibly long process. We were also casting in-house, which meant that quite often certain products weren't being cast at the time because the molds have a certain lifetime.
Yep.
You have to keep replacing the molds and things like that. Or we'd run out of material because we were casting too much, or various other problems arose. So we ended up doing wave shipments that made it really difficult. And although we had 2 guys in the warehouse packing, one of them also had to be mold making because we couldn't afford the staff because UK wages are fairly high. And then there was me who was packing, but I was also doing customer services, and I was getting so many emails from people asking where's their Kickstarter, and rightly so, they absolutely deserve to do that. That I'd spend 8 hours a day doing nothing but telling people that we're going to pack their parcel, and I wasn't able to pack any parcels because so many people were asking where is their parcel.
Okay.
So it was a constant cycle, and if I didn't reply to the emails, then we got even more flack. So it was an endless cycle of violence, and it ended up being that I just pulled 16-hour shifts or longer, just to get it done. You know, and we did get it done, and we ended up moving everything to Poland because it's a lower working wage. You know, we can get more staff in, and they got everything packed much faster, and it's just worked out a lot easier. And it means that I get to do the thing that I'm good at, which is the sales. And that's what we're doing with AVP. AVP is going to be a much faster and more slick process when it actually comes to being shipped.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, if it weren't for the not knowing the approval process for Fox, this would have been out.
Yeah, I mean we've got a warehouse full of miniatures, but we've got no boxes to put them in.
The miniatures are ready. They're ready.
The minis are sitting there in the warehouse, but it's box art approval. Is that what's going on?
Yep, box art. It's all sorted now. I mean we're printing boxes now.
It's fantastic.
So it's
happening.
It's happening, and it's gonna go out fast.
Yeah.
Once the final yes is said, it'll be out the door.
Awesome.
Totally.
That's very cool. So I just got one last set of questions. Is when starting out a new game in such a busy industry as this, there are new games coming out all the time, thanks to Kickstarter, things like that. How did you go about establishing yourself in game stores and getting people playing?
God, that's a hard question. It's good.
It's a hard question that everybody's asking themselves. How do you do that?
I think we're relentless.
Yeah.
We're utterly relentless. So I have a lot of faith. Me and Jim have a lot of faith in this product, and people kind of know it already because of Warzone, and that can either work in your favour or it can work against you. You know, but we're finding it's working in our favour, and the more people talk about it, the more it grows. And social media is a huge thing nowadays. You know, the amount of likes you have on Facebook makes a huge difference.
Definitely.
And you just share stuff, you get people excited about it, you run promotions, you run deals, you talk to stores, you explain to stores why it's a great product. We send out sample copies to stores. They cost them nothing, you know, but we send them out because we know it could result in sales, and even if it doesn't, it's still an advertisement, so that eventually they'll say, actually, we'll take on one of your products in the future.
Well, because I've never had anybody receive samples and go, I hate these.
Yeah.
I mean, even if they didn't order, they all fawn over them and go, wow, these are gorgeous, da 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 da. Whether they can afford to order right then or not, everybody likes them. So, sending it out is a good thing. Whether, like you said, whether they order right then or not, it's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of wary that doesn't really answer your question, but it's like I said, very hard question to answer.
It is a hard question to ask.
We talk to a lot of people, so it's literally mine and Jim's job to sit down and call every single store in the world. Like any geek shop has to be spoken to by us, and that's what we do.
And we call multiple times.
Yeah, and we love it.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah.
If we get a not right now, that means okay, we'll talk to you in a couple of months.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's pretty much the same process for both the UK and the Europe and the US.
Yeah. So Jim is US, Canada, and South America, and then I'm anywhere that isn't those places.
Okay. Have you seen any cultural differences between the two?
Yeah. In Europe, it's go big or go home. So they'll order as much as they can physically afford.
Really?
And they'll invest in a huge way. So Germany is probably one of our largest markets.
Okay.
They love miniature wargaming, and they go really big on it. Poland is big for us as well, but I think that's because we're based in Poland in a way. And I think our first translation is going to be in Polish that we print.
Okay.
We've already got all of our adverts made into Polish, and everything's translated. It's just getting it printed. But we've also, Italy, Spain, France, all those countries are really valuable to us. And then the UK is just silly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And people often forget, especially from the States, forget how important the UK market is.
Yeah. No, doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, Nottingham is kind of Nottingham, UK is kind of like
it's the lead
It's the Mecca.
Yeah, it's the Mecca of wargaming.
Nottingham is definitely the Mecca, and it's funny. I'm only an hour away from Nottingham, and we do communicate with all the other companies in the region, and even in the whole of the UK. There's definitely a kind of a brotherhood.
Good. Well, that's good to hear.
We talk with Mantic. There's guys at Mantic that play Warzone. There's people we play things made by Hawk War Games. We play things made by Mantic Games as well. And it's good to have that kind of knowledge of different products. I'm a huge fan of weird miniatures. I absolutely love Malifaux, and I'm gutted that they're not here physically at AdepiCon, but I respect that, and I look forward to meeting them at another show.
So what about the U.S.? What's different about the stores and getting stores to...
He gets the go big or go home. I get a lot of toe tipping.
Okay.
We're going to try it. So let's get, a couple of rule books and one of each starter and some heroes. Just so they can try it out. Show it to their customer base and see if it's going to sell.
But it shocks them, doesn't it? Because it all goes immediately.
Yeah, and then within a month I get a big order.
Yeah.
But it's convincing them to at least get that toe in the water when they don't have a customer base, because they know their customer base is buying X, Y, and Z right now. How are they sure that they're going to buy Warzone?
Yeah,
right.
Of course. Yeah.
And if they bring in a big Warzone order, well, which of X, Y, and Z are they going to restock this month? So I do a lot of talking with shops, so
and we do get
kind of getting in their mindset.
We do get that in Europe as well, depending on where you go, because obviously Europe is very, very diverse, even linguistically. I mean, I've picked up, I've spoken bits of German for a long time, but I've picked up more in this job just from the market I have to deal with. And Polish, I'm learning more and more Polish all the time. So it's really cool.
What do you think makes the American market so conservative?
Of game stores, and I know a lot of game shop owners throughout California. A lot of game stores are opened by 3 or 4 guys that they're buddies and they want to own a game store. Well, they didn't open a game store with $100,000 or $50,000 extra in the bank. They went out and got a loan so they could get product. So they're living from month to month, hand to mouth. Hand to mouth. They're living paycheck to paycheck, basically. Order to order.
And is that different different in the areas of Europe that you're talking about?
Yeah, I guess so. It's hard. I mean, there's a lot of very, very big gaming stores in Europe.
Yeah.
You know, very big, and they've monopolised on it, and they've been going since the 90s. You know.
So they've basically become the old money that can afford to take risks.
Yeah.
Whereas so many of the U.S. stores are brand new
and that's fine. I mean, it's good. It's not. We're not saying that one is better than the other.
No,
not
it's
at all.
understanding the differences and why things happen is useful.
And the other thing as well is that in the US there's a kind of huge reliance on distributors, and a lot of our work is sell direct. So we sell direct to retailer. I mean, we do have distributors in the US and across the world, but that's an option for people if that's how they're comfortable. If they prefer to buy from any distributor, they're more than welcome to.
So they prefer to just make that one order, pay that one check.
And they can get
tell them, here's your option for distribution. We're not opposed to doing that. I mean, it's one of our sales angles.
But if they want to make a big order and they want to get it straight from the source, that's fine.
Yeah,
it's cool.
We do both.
Yeah,
very cool. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciate it. We're coming up on just hit 30, so I really appreciate you guys taking the time to talk to me.
Not a problem. Thank you ever so much.
You're very welcome. And I'll be transcribing this and putting it up on our website, so I'll make sure to send you guys links to it.
Cool. Appreciate it.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you. You guys too.
Have fun.
I'm sure I'll see you in the vendors hall.
Oh yeah, we'll be there all weekend.
All right. For those of you who are listening, we will see you guys later.